Hello, all you beautiful and amazing people. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to the show. If you're new to the channel, I'm your host, Hyde, and this is Hide and Seek Media, where we talk about news, sports, politics, and so much more. Ghislaine Maxwell, the girlfriend and head recruiter of the now infamous sex trafficker and abuser Jeffrey Epstein, is on trial for her role in the said abuse and trafficking of underage girls. Now, Miss Maxwell is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law here in the United States, but there are those who believe she will be found guilty of her crimes and have to face the music as it is and serve time behind bars for her participation in the trafficking of underage girls. Now, everybody in the world knows about Jeffrey Epstein and what he is or was accused of. But what these prosecutors are doing in this case is trying to put Maxwell at the center of all of this. And I believe that this is more of a distraction, if you will. So I think this whole case, this whole trial is a sham. It is a smokescreen. It is a way to shut the masses up about the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking ring. So if you want to know my thoughts on what this case really is, who they are protecting, why they are protecting them, and what Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were really up to, stay tuned because this is going to get spicy. And remember, guys, if you like what I do here and you enjoy the channel, you enjoy my videos, you can always support the work I do here by donating to one of my many crypto wallets in the description down below, clicking the merch link and picking you out a funny political t-shirt like these right here. Or you can head over to locals.com, become a member, and with your premium subscription of just $2.99 a month, you'll get access to content that I put up on Locals only. So it's exclusive content that you will only find on Locals, right? This is something I've been trying to get launched off for a while. So if you feel like you want to help support the channel, head over to Locals, become a subscriber today. Now, let's get to this first story from NBC News about the prosecution making Ghislaine Maxwell the center of Epstein's sex trafficking ring. Right? Testimony by the accusers offered a close look at Maxwell's integral role in their joint scheme, including how she helped procure, groom, and normalize abuse, one expert said. Now, there is no doubt that this woman played an integral role, like this says here, pivotal in making these girls feel comfortable enough to keep coming back. Epstein would threaten them, right? He would threaten them, their families. Hey, you say anything and I can ruin you, right? I'm rich and powerful. I know powerful people. I could ruin your life, your family's life, everything about, could destroy everything about you. While Maxwell would come in there and be like, oh, this is okay. This is normal. Look, this is what we do, blah, blah, blah. This is what rich people do, right? So it's okay. So, but the prosecution keeps focusing only on Maxwell, right? They're bringing Epstein into it, of course, too, but they're not focusing on any of the other people involved, any of the other people that these girls were trafficked to, right? You've heard, we've heard some names, and we'll get to those here in a little bit, but for the most part, they have not named as many people as Epstein and Maxwell were connected to, right? So this story here from NBC News goes on to report, for 2 weeks, prosecutors have been trying to put Ghislaine Maxwell where they want her, at the heart of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring. Maxwell, the prosecutors have contended during her trial in New York City, was not an unwilling accomplice, as the defense has argued, and will continue to argue, they say, now that the government has presented its case and the four women she is accused of trafficking as minors, mostly in the 90s, have told their stories. Now, I'm going to take a pause right here because mostly in the 90s, because unfortunately, there is a immunity deal in Florida where when Epstein was charged with his, one count of trying to procure a underage prostitute, right? When he made his sweetheart deal with the prosecutors in Florida, part of that deal was that all other named associates or whatever got immunity. It's unfortunate that more people haven't come forward and, said, yeah, I was part of that too. But, some people are afraid that they may lose their jobs or their careers, their livelihoods, if people start to look at them in a different light because, like, oh my God, you did what to get where you are? It's like some of those girls that, you know, uh, Harvey Weinstein took advantage of, right? Some of those girls were like, he used them, took advantage of them so that but gave them a career. And so once it was found out that that's how they got their career or their start was because they did something with, nasty Weinstein, right? That, some people looked at them differently. And so there may be some people that, is tied to is tied to Maxwell and Epstein, who knew what was going on and aren't saying anything and aren't coming forward because they don't want to lose what they have, but I don't know. They go on to report the 59-year-old British socialite lured the teenagers into Epstein's depraved orbit, groomed them to have sex with Epstein and other powerful men, and even joined in the orgies, the prosecution's witnesses have testified. The government stayed focused on situating Maxwell at the very center of Epstein's ring, which was their main goal, said Deborah Turkheimer, a professor of law at Northwestern University, who has served 5 years as an assistant district attorney in the New York County District Attorney's Office and has been following the Maxwell trial in the Southern District of New York. Testimony by the accusers offered a close look at Maxwell's integral role in their joint scheme, including how she helped procure, groom, and normalize abuse, Truckheimer said. If jurors believed that the accusers testified truthfully and accurately, it will be quite difficult to dismiss Maxwell as an innocent victim herself. And that's true, right? You can't claim that I didn't know, right? Like Bill Gates is trying to say, and like Prince Andrew is trying to say, right? Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know that those girls were under 18. Oh my goodness. I didn't know that Jeffrey was that kind of person. Come on, man. You serious? That's crazy. That's crazy. David Ring, a Los Angeles-based civil trial lawyer who specializes in abuse cases, agreed. The prosecution put on a compelling case against Maxwell, Ring said. It effectively showed Maxwell as Epstein's closest confidant, was the lady of the house for many years, and that she would easily be involved in helping him procure teenage girls for massages and sexual play. To buttress the testimony of the four women, prosecutors have introduced hard evidence like photographs of the infamous massage table where much of the alleged sex abuse, the witnesses say, took place, journal entries and flight logs to show they flew on Epstein's planes. Epstein's flights have been the focus of intense media scrutiny over ever since it was discovered that former presidents Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, along with a host of other celebrities like Prince Andrew, took trips on his plane. Now, I will say right here that NBC News is trying to be fair or trying to make it seem like they're being fair, but Andrew took trips to Epstein's Island. Okay. Clinton took trips to Africa where they have schools for poverty kids and whatever. And it's another place for them to harvest young girls, right? Donald Trump took a ride from Florida to New York. So just saying, take that what you will. And I'm pretty sure Donald Trump rode on the plane once. Of all the flight logs, only one time it shows Trump on his plane. So Clinton was on there 26. I'm just saying. So they go on to report, it was no accident that the government's first witness was longtime Epstein pilot Larry Vysotsky, followed by the first accusing woman, who was identified only as Jane, said Sarah Krisoff, a former federal prosecutor in the Southern District who has led investigations in sex trafficking and crimes against children. In my view, the government started strong with these first two witnesses. The testimony of Epstein's pilot corroborated the account provided by Jane, and Jane's testimony really is the heart of the government's case. The prosecutors have also called to the stand other witnesses to corroborate, for example, that the women were frequent visitors to the disgraced financier's estate in Palm Beach, Florida. They have also produced bank records that show that Epstein deposited millions of dollars into Maxwell's private account. But convicting Maxwell, even in a case that has drawn international attention, remains an uphill battle because sexual abuse cases are exceedingly difficult cases to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and this case presents a number of unusual twists that add to the prosecution's burden, Turkheimer said. One of the twists is that Epstein cannot be put on the stand. The convicted sex abuser hanged himself in a Manhattan jail cell 2 years ago. Okay, I want to issue my own little correction here. Epstein didn't kill himself. All right, and we're going to get to that along with some of this other stuff later in the video, so make sure to stay tuned because Epstein didn't kill himself. All right. If he was part of what they say he was part of, he didn't kill himself. As a matter of fact, even Ghislaine doesn't think that. You have this story right here from the New York Post, right? Ghislaine Maxwell's brother says she believes Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. They go on to report, Ghislaine Maxwell believes that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, her brother Ian suggests in an interview with Spectre's Americano podcast. He also rallied against U.S. authorities and staunchly maintained his sister's innocence in the 24-minute exchange. It so happens one of the conspiracy theories about my father is that he was murdered rather than committed suicide or died by accident, Ian Maxwell told interview Freddie Gray. And we're going to get to that too. So stay tuned, guys, because there's more coming. And I'm going to get to Robert Maxwell and his mysterious death. I'm going to get to all of that. So make sure to stay tuned. They go on to report, of all my siblings, Ghislaine is the only one who happens to believe he was murdered. I would venture to think that she also thinks that Epstein was murdered. British tycoon Robert Maxwell died under mysterious circumstances while yachting off the coast of Spain in 1991, with heart attack and accidental drowning the official causes of death. Ghislaine Maxwell's partner in an alleged crime, Epstein, died in a New York jail cell on August 2019 while awaiting trial on child sex trafficking charges. Authorities ruled he committed suicide, though Maxwell scoffed at the idea. Right? Because it's hard to believe he committed suicide under those circumstances. Okay, he was found unconscious by his cellmate, okay, who is a guy convicted of 4 murders, one being strangulation, and he's a former police officer. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. That was his cellmate. And he finds him unconscious on the floor of their cell after coming back from wherever. And he's got some bruises around his neck, but, they think that he may have tried to kill himself at that point. So then you put him on suicide watch. Then the guards fail to check on him. The cameras don't work. And he's found hanged in his cell. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm on the same page as Miss Maxwell that Jeffrey didn't kill himself. He was too egomaniacal, right, to kill himself. He was so full of himself, there was no way he was taking his life. He thought he was going to get away with this. He thought he was going to get out of this because he had all the dirt. Why would he even bother thinking he was going to get prosecuted? No, he had all the dirt on a lot of prominent people. And that's why these prosecutors and this judge in this case, they aren't doing anything, right? You have this story here from The Independent. Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Who are the key courtroom figures, right? So, down here, we have the prosecutors. Assistant U.S. Attorney Maureen Comey is one of the lead prosecutors in the case against Miss Maxwell and had been due to try Epstein prior to his death in 2019. The daughter of the former director of the FBI, James Comey, is the head of the SDNY's Violent and Organized Crime Unit and has been in the office since 2014. She has tried major cases, including the 2019 trial of 11 men for trafficking minors, gang members, and drug traffickers. Joining Ms. Comey is Laura E. Pomerantz, a member of the SDNY's Public Corruption Unit, who prosecuted a DEA agent who was a member of a cocaine smuggling gang responsible for at least 7 murders. Okay? So, look, they're trying to make these people out to be like they are out to bring corruption to justice and they don't care who it is and they'll prosecute DEA agents and gang members and all of this, right? And it's like, come on. You ain't mentioned not one prominent person linked to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell that were also linked to these girls outside of Donald Trump. Okay, that is the only name other than Prince Andrew that everybody knows. But Donald Trump is the only name that I have heard come out of this case, okay, that was linked to these girls and Epstein outside of Prince Andrew. And you know how that link came about? One of the accusers worked as a towel girl or person at Mar-a-Lago. And that's where Ghislaine Maxwell found her and introduced her to Jeffrey Epstein and said, come be a traveling massage, come be a traveling masseuse. Come meet my friend. And if he likes you, he'll pay for your school, right? He'll make you a professional masseuse and you get to travel the world. And all you have to do is massage him when he wants a massage. That's it. Well, little did she know there was a lot that came with those massages. And it wasn't just Mr. Epstein she ended up having to massage. And of course, you got James Comey's daughter, as one of the lead prosecutors. I mean, come on, really? Then you have the judge, Judge Allison Nathan, a former special assistant to Barack Obama, was appointed a judge to the U.S. District Court of the Southern District of New York in 2011. The 49-year-old has overseen Ms. Maxwell's pretrial hearings and turned down 4 applications for bail on the grounds that the wealthy socialite is a flight risk. Judge Nathan cited Ms. Maxwell's lack of honesty about her wealth and that as a passport holder in 3 countries, the U.S., Britain, and France, she could use her extraordinary wealth and connections to flee the court's jurisdiction. Ms. Maxwell's brother, Ian, has said she has been kept in inhumane conditions in Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center. Judge Nathan was this month nominated for a prestigious federal appeals court process, but has said she will stay on to preside over Ms. Maxwell's trial. She is also an adjunct professor of clinical law, at New York University. So she got a promotion. As long as you don't say or allow any of the other big name people, to come out. Let's just keep all that quiet. You keep all of those names of those prominent billionaires and those prominent millionaires and these business tycoons and these, hedge fund managers and these, politicians. You keep all of those names out of the media and you'll get a promotion. You keep all of that attention out of the media and we will further your career, take you places you never thought you would be able to go. All right? And why is that? Why is this judge and the prosecutor protecting those people? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because they're rich and powerful. And they own the world, right? I would imagine that this little scheme that Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein allegedly had going on was pretty profitable in gathering a lot of dirt, right, on people, putting people in compromising positions and then getting it on film of some way, shape, or form so that they could use that against other people. I mean, look at this photo comparison. You have Epstein and Ghislaine, this little cabin here, but then look, for y'all who don't know, this is the Queen of England. Yeah. Same freaking house. How does this guy and this girl get to hang out the Queen of England's cabin? You got dirt on a prince and you said, hey, I'll keep this secret. Nothing will ever come of this. I just want access. That's all I want. I just want in. I want access to your powerful people. I want access to their money. I want to manage their money because that's what Epstein did. He was a money manager, right? And he wouldn't take clients who had anything less than $1 billion, and he wanted total control over all of their money to be able to invest it however he saw fit. Sounds pretty maniacal to me, right? I don't know. That, hey, he apparently made billions of dollars doing it, which I don't know if that's really the case. I don't know how many clients Jay Epstein and Co. had, but I do know he has ties to Les Wexler, the owner of Victoria's Secret, and that my belief is that that's where Epstein got a lot of his money, was from Les Wexler as a front man, basically. Hey, you run the scam. You be the front man. You be that guy. You be the you to be the tag team, in this honeypot scheme to get all this information, right? You got this article right here. Come spy with me. Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were spies who used underage sex to blackmail politicians, ex-handler claims. Now, before I get into this story, I just want to preface this by saying I don't necessarily believe that Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were spies. I don't believe they worked for a government agency for any country. Okay? This goes well beyond that. There is a group of powerful global elitists, right? Billionaires who own some of the most powerful companies on the planet. And so they use that leverage to, do whatever they want, really. One of those things is getting people like Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein to run these honeypot schemes. So I think it was more of those global elites trying to control the world and shape the world the way they want. And the best way to do that is behind the scenes, right? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. We're not doing anything over here. Guys, this is all for your own good kind of shit, right? So that's where I think they were. I don't think they worked for a government. I think they were doing this in partnership with, a number of other people to get powerful people in compromising positions to then use that, to leverage them to do what they wanted. Not necessarily to pay them money, right? But to get a bill passed through legislation so that their companies could benefit from it and they would see a huge profit, right? So they would invest heavily in these companies. I bet if you went back through and look at certain legislation versus certain investments from J. Epstein and Co., I guarantee you there would be some correlation to legislation being passed and his investments going up. I guarantee it. And then if you looked at that legislation, look at co-sponsors, look at people who really push to get votes, I guarantee you they have a tie to Epstein in some way. I haven't done that research, but I promise you it's out there. And if one of you guys want to do that research, leave a comment down below. Let me know where I can find that, what video it may be on, what YouTube channel you got. And if you like what I'm doing so far and you feel I'm on the right track, leave a comment down below. Let me know, man. I appreciate all the comments. Smash that like button because that helps the algorithm share my video, right? And like I said, I love engaging with my viewers. So leave a comment. That's some of my favorite stuff right now on YouTube is responding to comments and engaging with my viewers. So leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this video, right? Because I really need the feedback. I need to know what you guys want to see that's better, what I can do better on, bringing you guys the news and my thoughts. So leave a comment, let me know, and, we'll get into this story here that claims that Maxwell and Epstein were spies. The Sun goes on to report Ghislaine Maxwell and her pedophile lover, Jeffrey Epstein, were both Israeli spies who took pictures of powerful men having sex with underage girls to blackmail them, their alleged Mossad handler has sensationally claimed. The pair allegedly ran a honey trap operation where they would provide young girls to politicians in order to squeeze them for information for the Israelis. Okay, so take Mossad out, take the Israelis out, insert global elitists, right? Those are the people who run the world, not governments. The unsubstantiated claims have been made by Ari Ben Minash. Minash? I think I'm saying that right. Who claims he is a former Israeli spy. Ben Minash, that's how I'm going to say it. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Claims that he was the handler of Ghislaine's dad, Robert Maxwell, who was also a spy, and that it was the former newspaper baron who introduced Epstein and his daughter to the Israeli intelligence agency. Okay, so he makes the unverified claims in a new book called Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales. In a preview of the book shared with Sun Online, Ben Minash says Mr. Epstein was the simple idiot who was going around providing girls to all kinds of politicians in the United States. Epstein and Maxwell would just blackmail people. They would just blackmail people like that, Minash said. They go on to say this guy was arrested in 1989 in the U.S. on arms dealing charges, but was acquitted in 1990 after a jury accepted he was acting on behalf of Israel. So he got acquitted, basically saying that he convinced the jury that he was an Israeli spy. Israel tried to distance themselves from him, with government sources saying he never had anything to do with the intelligence services, although other news reports in both the U.S. and Israel confirmed he did. He later wrote a book called Prophets of War inside the U.S. Israeli arms network, and in the early 1990s claimed that Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's dad, worked for Mossad. The new book takes this further and claims Maxwell may have worked for other governments too as a double or triple agent. Ben Minash claims that despite reports Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell met in the early 90s in New York, they actually met much earlier through their socialite's father. He claims that Robert Maxwell introduced Epstein to Mossad and then Ghislaine got involved later. Files from the British Foreign Office released in 2003 appear to back the claims Robert Maxwell may have been a spy, with one report describing him as a thoroughly bad character who was being financed by Russia. Another saying his questionable activities had been brought to the attention of the foreign officer on several occasions. While the Maxwell family have always denied such reports, family friend Laura Goldman says in the book, "My feeling is that he probably was an agent to the Russians, the Israelis, and the British. I believe that Ghislaine continued his work." It is not known whether Maxwell and Epstein gathered any intelligence about pal Prince Andrew in their alleged espionage work, although the book suggests the royal was a target. So basically, this guy wrote a book saying that he knows Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were spies for Mossad. I'm sorry, I don't buy that, right? I don't buy that because I believe there is a larger nefarious plan at work here. I believe that there are a group of global billionaires who have the power to control and manipulate the world as they see fit. And that's what they are trying to do right now, right? And Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were part of that inner circle. They were part of that group. They were the ones procuring all of these powerful people, right? You get a little bit of dirt on them and you say, look, I can ruin your life. You had sex with a 17-year-old girl and I've got it on camera. All I got to do is release that footage on the internet now and you are done. But if you push this piece of legislation through, or if you invest in my company, or you let me manage your money, or you do this, you help me get girls, you do whatever, right? You do whatever I ask you to do, or I let this shit out into the world. Basically, having powerful people under your thumb is a very nice place to be if you are somebody who is looking to rule the world, right? And anybody with their kind of outlook on life, they don't care about anybody else. They're going to step on whoever they got to step on to get where they want to go. So, in the end, these are some scary people, right? Because while Robert Maxwell may very well have been a spy, I mean, Ghislaine's dad could very well have been a spy, right? I don't know. I think you could also link another nefarious situation, and it's hard to say murder because it was ruled an accident, but we all remember August 31st, 1997, right? If you don't remember August 31st, 1997, because you're too young or you didn't pay attention to media back then, that is the day that Princess Diana and her soon-to-be fiance died in a car accident. Now, it was reported back then that they were being chased by paparazzi and the driver lost control and wrecked in a tunnel. Yeah. See, here's the photograph, right? They were in Paris on their way back to the Hotel Ritz, the Ritz Hotel in Paris, when this accident happened. Now, I don't know that I believe it was an accident. Diana was leaving or was divorcing Prince Charles. So there are people out there that believe Diana's death was staged to look like an accident, but she was really taken out. Her and her soon-to-be fiance were taken out because the royal family didn't approve, and that there's a good possibility that Diana knew what was going on or found out what was going on, and that was one of the reasons why she wanted out, because she didn't approve, that she didn't want her family, her sons, to be exposed to that kind of world, and so she was trying to get away, and they took her out. Right? It's very, very possible. It's very possible that Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was a spy. I mean, there's this story from The Guardian from like 2003, right? Captain Bob and the Spooks. 12 years ago this month, Robert Maxwell plunged to his death off a yacht. In a new book, former Mirror journalist Jeffrey Goodman, says he now suspects Maxwell was murdered. Oh, look at that. Robert Maxwell died 12 years ago this month, November 5th, to be precise. He died as he lived, an enigma wrapped in a mystery. There were at least 2 postmortems on his waterlogged body after it had been dredged from the ocean. The speculations about how he died remained active to this day. Was it suicide or heart failure in a grossly overweight body? Was it an accident, a fate, or was it murder? At the time of his death, I was prepared to believe in the suicide theory. It fit the circumstances. Or I could have been persuaded that it was some form of natural cause. He was a sick man, used to take medication on a substantial scale and drugs to ease the pain and breathing problems following an earlier operation to remove part of his lung. It was even feasible that Maxwell took an overdose of drugs, which left him semi-conscious as he opened the door of his cabin on his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, gasping for air, fumbling forward toward the deck rail, and slipped overboard in the early hours of darkness off the Canaries on that fateful morning. I have forever changed my view on this. I no longer believe that he was not murdered. Bob Maxwell knew he was in irreversible trouble in his business affairs. Everywhere he looked, his great empire seemed to be collapsing around him, except for the still profitable Mirror Group newspapers. His American acquisitions were a crushing debt burden. He had rifled the entire pension funds of Maxwell Communications to try and ease that debt burden, and he mortgaged virtually all his wealth on a huge gamble with fate. There was no one left to rescue Bob Maxwell except one possible savior. He still had friends in very high political places. If they have failed him, then commercial disaster would swiftly turn to criminal investigations. So what would happen to those political friends in high places? Maxwell built up a tremendous catalog of politically influenced contacts with wide commercial implications. Over 20 years, he had established a network of commercial and political interests in the communist countries of Eastern Europe, which was a linchpin of his Pergamon Press Company. Pergamon Press Company. His biographies, or to be accurate, bland hagiographies of virtually all the communist leaders were a lucrative earner. Yet his extraordinary, well, I don't want to keep going on. Basically, they go on to talk about his life and whatever, and his ties to Israel and France and Russia. But was he a spy? Was Robert Maxwell a spy? Did he teach his daughter the tradecraft of how to run a honeypot scheme? Is that why Maxwell and Epstein were such a great match? Because Epstein had the money and the charm. Maxwell had the know-how and the connections. Together, they were an unstoppable team for over 2 decades, procuring young women for very powerful business people and prominent politicians so that they could use that leverage to manipulate the world in multiple countries, including the United States. So, at the end of the day, is the Ghislaine Maxwell trial really the trial we need to have? Or are they covering up for those powerful global elite billionaires who have ties to Jeffrey Epstein? I don't think we'll ever know the truth, but my speculation has been laid out for you. So, if you've made it all the way to the end of the video, I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, so you get notified anytime I drop a new video. Smash that like button. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this video and the topic, man. I love to engage with my viewers, so feel free to fire away. Tell me what you like about this video and what you don't like about this video. Also, I'm trying to change the URL of my YouTube channel from all these funky letters and numbers up here to my channel name. But the only way YouTube will allow me to do that is if I get 100 subscribers. See, Rumble, they let me do that from the get-go. But YouTube requires 100 subscribers. So what I need you guys to do is share this video on all social media platforms. Get it out there across the land. Share it to all your friends. Get it out there, because the more people that see this video, the more chance I've got of getting more subscribers. And 100 subscribers is where I need to be to change that URL. I appreciate everything you guys are doing, and I will catch y'all later. Peace.